13 pounds. Melvin Douglas from Mesa, Arizona, the defending champion, taking on Mike Van Arsdale from Phoenix, Arizona, the 97 World Cup champion. It'll be Douglas in the red and Van Arsdale in the blue. Ready to go at 213 pounds in the red, Melvin Douglas from Mesa, Arizona, the defending champ. He's taking on Mike Van Arsdale from Phoenix, Arizona, the 1997 World Cup champion. Douglas in the red and Van Arsdale in the blue. Van Arsdale could not compete last year. He was injured with a shoulder. Didn't compete in the U.S. Nationals or the World Team Trials. And I'm wondering if that is completely healed. Do you know, Jim?
Well, he's had injury problems over the years. Mike showed such great promise, winning the 1997 World Cup. Then he was injured, wasn't able to compete. I think it's healthy, but it's always there in the back of your mind that it might go at any point in time. And in the last 3 or 4 years, he's had 3 or 4 major injuries, which have really held his development back. Oh, we have our scoreboard went out.
Scoreboard did go out, so they throw in the towel from the official table. Somebody may have kicked a plug, but it is back. Now have to reset some of the time, but there you see big Melvin Douglas wrestling for the Sunkist Kids. Wrestled for the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, we may have a little bit of controversy. Melvin had scored, or was in the process of scoring, a one-point takedown when the officials threw the towel in. I think the timing of when the towel came in versus whether he had scored a takedown is going to be a little bit of a controversy here.
Well, the look on his face is telling me that they are not going to give him those points.
Now, these are the kinds of things.
Ready to go at 213 pounds, just underway between Melvin Douglas of Mesa, Arizona, the defending champion here at the National Championships, taking on Mike Van Arsdale from Phoenix, Arizona, 1988 NCAA champ. In the red is Melvin Douglas. In the blue, Van Arsdale. Van Arsdale injured last year, couldn't compete in the U.S. Nationals and the World Team Trials. And I know once you injure a shoulder, that could always be in the back of your mind.
Well, Van Arsdale did win the 97 World Cup, but then he suffered a string of injuries, Jim Shear.
Yeah, he injured his shoulder training for the Nationals and the World Team Trials and was out last year. And that layoff alone really sets you back at this level where you can ill afford any time off. And he's had serious injuries over 3 to 4 years, which have kept him out of the Olympic trials in '96 and again in '97. And it's got to be in the back of your mind anytime you've been that injury prone. I think a little bit of it is he's gone up weight classes. He's gone about 2 weight classes up since college. But he certainly looks to have developed in this weight class.
A couple of the real seasoned veterans for USA Wrestling, both into their 30s, NCAA champions in the late 80s.
Douglas with a world championship. Van Arsdale looking to get one.
0-0 with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go at 213 pounds. Last year, Melvin Douglas won this national title, defeating J.J. McGrew in the finals.
And Melvin has been able to withstand all challengers for a long, long time now.
It's just amazing, and his style is so explosive, and he's the kind of guy that can almost lull you to sleep, or he doesn't do much, but boy, when he does it, watch out. Bodies fly through the air and points go up on that scoreboard quick. Had that opportunity earlier in the match, but we had difficulty with the clock and nothing was put up on the board. Since then, he's had a couple of good shots, but Van Arsdale has been able to counter.
And as you mentioned, Melvin is such an explosive wrestler, but he also wrestles in a relaxed style, and I think that's one of the keys to his longevity. If you notice on Melvin's singlet, he didn't get a shot. He's got a little black slash on his
shoulder strap,
and that's in honor and memory of Dave Schultz, who was Melvin's teammate on so many international trips.
Well, it's been a few years since the death of Dave Schultz, but certainly nobody has forgotten him and the contributions he gave to the sport of wrestling.
Well, Dave will be a legend. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He has touched just about every life in freestyle wrestling. He's touched mine, even though I was Greco. But I started out freestyle and knew David and shared times with David and learned from David because he was such a technical mind. He didn't have God's greatest body, but boy, God gave him one brilliant mind.
Under a minute to go now. No score between Melvin Douglas and Mike Van Arsdale.
And Dave was always fond of saying, hey, I cheated at wrestling. He learned how to wrestle. Learn the techniques that make you great. And Dave affected the sport in so many ways as a coach and as an international ambassador and leader for the sport, more than just as a great athlete and competitor himself.
Now Van Arsdale trying to go low on Douglas, but Douglas just leans that huge, thick body into Van Arsdale. The size of the legs of Melvin Douglas is so impressive.
I wrestled Melvin many, many times at the elite level, and those are not tree trunks that you want to shoot into very often.
Where you saw a bit of that explosiveness, just hinting at it. Melvin Douglas tried to go low on Van Arsdale, but Mike was there to block that charge.
How much do you think the change in the weight classes? We've gone from 10 to 8 weight classes, and Melvin used to wrestle 198 pounds, and now he's actually wrestled 180 for a while. Then went up to 198. Now he gets to wrestle at 213 pounds. That must add to his longevity as well.
Well, I think it does. If you're not worrying about loot.
We'll finish that thought in just a moment. First, let's go to break before overtime. Welcome back to overtime. 0-0 Melvin Douglas and Mark Van Arsdale. Douglas in the red and Van Arsdale in the blue.
We were talking about the weight classes there, Jim, and whether or not the fact that Douglas's weight class moved up from 198 to 213 because of the change from 10 to 8 weight classes, and I think that really does help him.
I think it really has, and Melvin wrestled collegiately at 167 pounds for the University of Oklahoma. And so in the last, actually 12 years since he graduated, Melvin has gone up to 213. But not having to go through the grind of losing weight every year, I think really adds to your wrestling career.
It's also a great example of technique rules. You know, you don't have to cut weight to be a great wrestler.
I think Melvin has really benefited him to be slightly smaller for his weight class, do his duck unders, have a little bit more mobility than his opponents, has really helped him. And I think it's been a mistruth in wrestling, or a fallacy for so long, that losing weight helps you compete, because it really just hurts your progression as a wrestler, and it doesn't help you physiologically for that meet itself.
As a coach, the age-old question I used to pose to an athlete was, what are you thinking about the day before the match and the morning of the match? If it's cutting weight, where's your focus?
Right now, Melvin Douglas and Mike Van Arsdale stuck in a 0-0 stalemate in overtime. Douglas, the quiet, confident one, uses his energy only when he decides to attack. Van Arsdale, the more active of the two wrestlers, and now is given a choice of up or down. And I think Ken Berger, the referee, will give Van Arsdale the choice to go down now, as they have a minute and 42 seconds to go. Has this been Melvin Douglas's style the whole time? I'm sorry, it is John Schausch is our referee, but seems to be more slow moving, use it in explosive, quick bursts.
Well, I would think that Melvin isn't the physical specimen he once was. He's obviously getting older and such. He's still a tremendous, tremendous talent. But I think when you're in that relaxed state, suddenly when you do shift it into high gear, it seems so much more explosive that even if you aren't doing what you used to be able to in terms of weights and such, that shift from slow to fast and then slow to fast really accentuates your abilities. And I think it's a big advantage, and I agree with Jim. I think it's added to his longevity. He doesn't put himself at risk with a lot of motions and funky positions. He stays very much within his own envelope, knows what he wants to do, and tries to create, and will be patient to create that opportunity to go ahead and shoot.
And the quickness of Douglas shown there as he got out from underneath Van Arsdale. Van Arsdale thinking that Douglas had gone ahead of the whistle, but that was not called. And now, just about a minute to go in this matchup at 213 pounds. If it ends here, Jim Scherer, who do you give it to?
Well, the passivity calls are going to really be crucial. And Van Arsdale at this point, I believe, is ahead on the passivity calls.
I think you're right about that.
Points rule, though. Whoever can get a point up on the board, that they'll be in the driver's seat.
So I mean, both these guys in the last 45 seconds, they know that whoever is the most aggressive, if a point isn't scored, is going to win this match.
And the pace has quickened, a lot more motion now, a lot more moving the head. Everyone's still looking over at the clock. It seems Douglas is very content to stand there. He's not really attacking, but that's not his style. He likes to draw you towards him, and as you step, he launches.
23 seconds to go.
Melvin may feel confident that if it goes down to referee's decision, that he's going to win. And Melvin may be ahead on the passivity calls here at this point. He's certainly wrestling like he is.
Van Arsdale now trying to get low on Douglas. Van Arsdale pushing the action with 5 seconds to go for the national championship at 213 pounds.
Gonna do it.
Van Arsdale stays down on the mat. I think he feels that he is not one who is going to come away with a title here. The referee showing the red card, I think, on the side judge. Van Arsdale unhappy with exactly how that progressed. And it is.
It is. It's a matter of passivity calls. Melvin Douglas had 3 against Van Arsdale. Van Arsdale had 2 against Douglas. So
Melvin Douglas comes up with the victory at 213 pounds on a referee's decision. No points scored at 213 pounds, and Douglas continues to roll in his career.
what, no replay?
We will return to Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex to talk to our winner at 213 pounds in just a moment. Kidding. Yeah, really. All right, just a second here.
Stand by, please.
Good job.
Go ahead, Chip.
Melvin, congratulations on a very hard-fought win. You won by the thinnest of margins, 3-2 on passivity calls. Did you think Mike would be that difficult in this match as far as being able to score on him?
Oh yeah, I knew Mike would be very difficult. That's why I didn't set him down on the mat, because he won this. I mean, he got through the finals by switching everyone. You know, I didn't want to put him where he was best at.
Now, Mike's a great counter wrestler, switches, and when you get too aggressive, he counters. And I know you did a very great job tactically that way. Do you expect to kind of go the same way in the World Team Trials? Is that what you're looking to do there?
Well, I mean, he has to make it to me first. There's a lot of tough wrestlers down there in that mini tournament. I mean, I got to be ready for each and every one of them, not just Mike. We train together down in Arizona, so we kind of know what each other's do. We know each other's strong points.
And it's always difficult to wrestle somebody you've wrestled so many times. Congratulations again, and good luck in the World Team Trials.
Well, thank you. I just want to tell those people who thought I lost the fire, I still got it.
Certainly do.